So what is life journaling? Life journaling is a daily one-on-one time with you and God where you look at Scripture, and it revolutionized my life. As a matter of fact, it's been almost a daily practice for me for the better part of 15 years. So imagine it like this. Imagine that a guitar teacher comes to town and says, I want to teach you guitar. And that guitar teacher is Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton, probably one of the best guitar players in the world. Let's say that Eric Clapton comes to town and says, I want to teach guitar and teach a guitar class, and you're in that guitar class. And you're like, man, this is great. Every week I can go to this guitar class and Eric Clapton will teach everyone in the class. And so you're a member of the class. Now, imagine that after one class, Eric Clapton walks up to you and says, hey, I know that you're in class, but I've got a little bit of time and I wonder if maybe you'd like to meet with me just one-on-one. And you're like, I mean, I can't believe this. Like, the greatest guitar player in the world, Eric Clapton, wants to meet with me one-on-one. I'm going to sound terrible, but he's going to be able to teach me some good things. And imagine if over time that you and Eric Clapton get together and he begins to teach you and you begin to listen to what he does and what he says and what he tells you to do, right? Imagine what that would be like to have one-on-one lessons with him. Well, it's kind of similar to that in life journaling because the Lord wants to give you one-on-one lessons. So here's what life journaling really looks like. It's a simple system, and all you have to remember is this: SOAP, S-O-A-P. Now you're going to break that apart in just a few minutes in your group, but let me give you a little bit of an overview. See, each day you'll read a passage of Scripture, right? And there's a schedule in the front of the life journals that will tell you which passage to read. And we also have those, we have life journals in the bookshop, the bookstore at church. We also have life journal bookmarks that are at, I believe, the info center that you can grab. But you can also find the daily scriptural reading through our MCC app by just clicking Bible. Or you can go to YouVersion and download that app and link that to the life journaling system. So there's several different ways that you get the daily scripture reading. So there'll be some scripture there that you'll read, and it's, I think, 3 or 4 different chapters. My suggestion would be just read one chapter, right? So you're going to read the chapter, and as you're reading, here's what you're going to do. You're going to look for one scripture that pops out to you. Now, don't find a scripture that's like, I don't understand that, so I'm going to underline that. No, you want to underline some things that like just kind of pop out to you. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. And then what you do, this is the S of the SOAP, is you take that one scripture, just one, take one scripture and you're going to write that down in your journal. That's S, scripture. So you're going to write the scripture. Next comes O. O is for an observation. And this is where you write down what the verse said to its audience. Okay, this is not where you say, this is what the verse means to me. This is where you say, this is what the verse says to the audience. So I'll often start my observation part by saying, Jesus is teaching His disciples whatever. Or God is telling His people to whatever. Okay, you don't want to make application to your life yet. You just want to make a general observation on that text. So that's O. S is scripture, O is observation. A stands for application. That is, how does this apply to my life? That's where you apply it to your life. And listen, here's the trick. Apply it to your life in detail. So if you're journaling and let's say your scripture is that Jesus said we should forgive our enemies. And then your application is, Jesus teaches His disciples that they should forgive their enemies. Then your application could be, I should forgive people, but that's way too general. So my suggestion in the application phase is this, that you get very, very specific. This is a time just for you and the Lord. You're not publishing this to other people. You're not sending this out to anybody else, right? This is just you and the Lord. So I would get very specific, and you may say, I really need to pray about forgiving my brother-in-law who this or what, and get very, very specific in that. Okay, that's the application part. And then P of SOAP stands for prayer, and you just write out a single prayer there. Dear God, thanks for this word. Help me to work on forgiveness. However it is that you want to work that. So SOAP, and you're going to practice through that. Now I'll tell you this daily practice has completely transformed my life, because instead of hearing about Jesus from other people, I'm actually able to hear directly from Him through the scriptures. So, back to our imaginary lessons with Eric Clapton. Imagine you and Eric, you're calling him Eric now because you guys are on a first name basis, right? So imagine you and Eric have spent a lot of time together, significant time, just one-on-one. And he's been teaching you and you've been learning. You think your guitar playing would be a little bit different? Imagine someone hears you playing and they hear you play some things and they say, whoa, that doesn't really sound like you. That sounds like the stylings of a great master. That sounds like Clapton. How is that could be? I thought it was you, but you're sounding like someone else. And you can say, yes, I'm sounding like someone else because I've sat at the feet of the master. What's going to happen is that eventually you're going to be in conversations or you're going to be in situations where there will be saying things that you say or things that you do, and people may say it or they may just think, well, that doesn't really sound like him. That sounds like somebody else would maybe say that through him. And you can think to yourself, it's because I've been sitting at the feet of the master and I've been listening to the words of Jesus. I've been listening to the words of God, and they have deeply impacted my life. And in all of that, my soul has been waking up a little bit, right? So listen, once you begin your life journal one-on-one with God, don't be surprised if those types of things happen.